Hello, everyone. We are back with another Metabolic Code educational video, and the purpose of these videos is to help you understand easier ways to implement the Metabolic Code diet with your Metabolic Code program so you can get the best results. So I've spoken to you about carb counting and, about metabolic code programs in general. And I gave you an overview of the metabolic code diet, the full length diet versus our healthy eating guideline, which is less to take on for people that aren't ready to do the overall diet yet. But now I am going over the full-blown diet, the metabolic code full phase 1, 2, and 3 diet. And this actually is the diet that is designed to be most complementary to everything that's built into what we do with an overall metabolic code program. So like I've talked about before, these are usually the main categories that we're needing to address in people to get you back on track metabolically. And everything that we have, and you will do that with the combination of primarily your supplements, but the diet is really designed to complement each and every one of them. For example, it's hard to manage blood sugar if you're eating too high for what your body can handle in carbohydrates. Eating a low allergen diet is super important for the gut health symptoms, but it's also supportive of better thyroid function. And it's also helpful for people that are showing signs that they have some pretty high toxicity going on. So all of these things and everything that we have in the diet is work to help you get the best results you can out of your overall program. So just to give you a quick overview of the metabolic code, and I call it the full-blown diet, but it's really just the metabolic code diet. The big thing that I want you to understand is that our diet is designed to walk you through these 3 phases so that in the end, your diet will be very customized to you. So everybody starts out the same in phase 1, except that we have different intake levels for men and women. But by the time you go through your processes in phase 2 of tweaking your starchy, higher carb food intake to where you need it, and by the time you've eliminated the food allergens and then done your food allergen reintroduction trials, you get an idea what foods bother you and what foods don't, what carb level you can handle. And so at the end in phase 3, where we show you how to put it all together, you really see how you've customized to figure out a diet that works for you, that is not just to go on for a while to lose weight and then eventually you go off, and then whenever you want to lose weight again, you go back on it, because the metabolic code diet isn't just all about weight. It's about your overall health. It's about taking down inflammation to help you control pain, for example. It's also about getting where you need to be with carbs and fiber intake so you can manage your lipids and your blood sugar. So, and everybody can handle, it's different what different people can handle on carb load. They've had strong studies showing this. So just the point being, it's laid out phase by phase to make it as easy as possible for you. In a way, it might be a little more work than some diets, in that you're doing a little bit of trial and error to find out what you tolerate and what you don't. But in the end, you end up with a diet that is completely customized to you, and that is a diet that you can literally stay on for the rest of your life. You may have times when you don't eat according to the metabolic code diet, of course, but that's all explained in the maintenance part of our diet. We realize that everybody will have a day here or there that they sort of blow it and go off of what they normally eat, but it's really not blowing it. It's just a splurge day. Then you can get back to your normal way of eating, and you don't have to worry about ever losing control of your weight or your health again if you do this the way it's laid out. It is amazing how it can transform your eating. So let's walk through each phase of the diet. For phase one, we have 3 main documents that you will use to learn how to do it. We have our longer phase one diet guides in the 2 calorie levels. We have the Metabolic Code My Plate document, which really is just a summary of this document here. It kind of shows you in a quicker, easier format how to put everything together so you know how to eat. And then the specialty foods list is super important for helping you implement phase one, because it shows you the foods that you can use in place of things like regular bread, in place of cheese, in place of soy sauce, so that you don't have to go out and look and try and find all these foods yourself. We've done all the legwork for you. All you have to do is look at your specialty foods list and, okay, these are the foods I need to look for. And we really recommend that you go out and buy those foods and have some of those foods on hand before you even try to start the diet, if at all possible. I mean, you don't have to, but it is helpful if you can order ahead of time and have some of these foods on hand so that you can really do phase one without making any bumbles along the way. So this is what the phase one diet guide looks like. And again, we have 2 calorie levels. So the only difference between this one and the 1800 is it'll say 1800 here. And then the food quantities that you see on the meal plans will be slightly different as you look throughout the document. This document is about 45 pages long. So don't get discouraged by that. The reason it's that long is because we have 2 weeks worth of meal plans and all the recipes in there. So about probably 35 of those pages are just the meal plans with all the recipes. The first 8 pages or so is the explanation of the diet, what it's trying to accomplish, and how you'll go about doing the diet. But this is a long document, but really what we recommend using it for primarily is to get the meal plans and get a lot of food ideas and get recipes that you can use on the diet. So again, it comes in 2 calorie levels. It's just a little bit more complete info, whereas with the My Plate document, we've got everything summarized on how to do phase one. But the meal plans and recipes are great, and it should give you a lot of help with different ideas for what you're going to eat as you start out in phase one on our diet. So really plan to use this long booklet mainly for the recipes and the food ideas. There is some really good additional information in there, like we have a whole page with the healthy oils chart. You know, you hear a lot nowadays about healthy fats. And, you know, what is a healthy fat? Well, a healthy fat actually is a fat that's used for a temperature appropriate use. For example, you really shouldn't use extra virgin olive oil for cooking. It really is only meant for very low, slight, short-term heat. If you want to use an olive oil for cooking, you should get a more refined one. So and then so the way the healthy oils chart is laid out, it shows you all the different types of oils that you can use in your diet and which ones are best used for cooking and which ones are best used for things like salad dressing. So this is a nice booklet. It's got a lot of good information in it. This is what the Metabolic Code My Plate document looks like. It's a 2-sided document and starts out laying out your meals, showing you for breakfast what you can eat, for lunch and dinner what something like what your plate would look like. And down here we have actual sample meal plans for a daily intake. With the only difference being that now we have built onto the Metabolic Code My Plate additional information about how to use things like your low carb Joel's crackers or Sigdal crackers that you can add in on your meals. But this really is, and there's additional information in addition to what you're seeing here, but these are just the basics of the screenshot of what the My Plate looks like. But again, it just summarizes everything that's in that long phase 1 document and basically shows you, okay, you're supposed to fill half your plate with non-starchy vegetables. It doesn't have to be salad. It can be any of these non-starchy vegetables cooked up. And you can actually have a salad up here on the side if you want. Instead of having a potato or rice or bread or pasta or something like that, in the beginning on phase 1, you only use beans as your starch serving for the first 2 weeks. And you can have your beans as a side on your plate, or you can have them worked into a food like a bowl of chili. Or you can, have hummus. Hummus is a bean serving, and that's shown, this information is shown here. Your beans, it's a half a cup if it's, like kidney beans or lima beans or anything, or a third cup if it's hummus. So in that case, you might have a few more vegetables on your plate. You might have your hummus here on the side, and you might have some cut up celery and carrot sticks to dip into your hummus, for example. And you might have a little more protein. But this is everything that's in the long phase 1 diet guide summarized down, so it makes it really quick and easy what you're going to eat day in and day out on phase 1 of the meal plan. And so again, breakfast, we have in that long meal guide, we have a ton of protein shake recipes. And that's one of the things you might like it for. And I know a lot of people really love using protein shakes for breakfast because they're easy and they're portable. If you are taking a protein shake with you out on your way to work or something, it's very easy. You can have eggs like frittatas. We really encourage working vegetables into your breakfast if at all possible. So throwing a handful of spinach or kale or something into a protein shake, or having leftover vegetables from last night's dinner with your eggs in the morning. Or if you don't always want eggs, you can just have breakfast meats with vegetables, and we've got recipes for those as well. Now, depending on if you're male or female, you will have 1 or 2 fruit servings that you can eat per day. And the fruit servings are variable because the sugar or carb content of your fruits are variable. And a serving is the amount of a food that will give you 15 grams of carbohydrate. So if you look over here on the fruit chart, let's say you want to put some raisins on a salad, for example. You don't always have to eat a bowl of fruit. It can be things like dried cranberries or dried, raisins, dried grapes on a salad to give you variety with a salad. And I do this fairly often. So if I put 2 tablespoons on my bowl of salad, then I know I've gotten 1 of my fruit servings that I'm allowed to have for the day. Now, men, you have a little more leeway because you can have more calories. Men could have raisins on a salad plus another, bowl of, say, cut up strawberries or watermelon for the day. Women, you have to be a little bit more judicious. So women a lot of times will split their fruit servings. So for example, if I'm just going to have a bowl of salad, I might not need 2 tablespoons. I'll throw 1 tablespoon of raisins on my salad. And because in the morning I ate a little over half a cup of strawberries, I put them in my smoothie. So see, you can split up the servings. For the women, that's a little pointer. Men, you have 2 to work with per day, so it's a little easier. But yeah, I mean, you look at this My Plate document and you pretty much know how to get going on the diet. So I'm going to go into the use of the MyPlate document a little bit more in a separate video, but it really is where the rubber meets the road to get you going on. The main two goals that you're trying to accomplish with the diet is you're trying to learn how to manage your high glycemic carb intake. You're learning how to shift away from high glycemic index and high carb loaded foods, which are it's called high glycemic index and high glycemic load. We're switching to low glycemic index and low glycemic load. And so you're learning that, you know, how to incorporate more and more vegetables into your plates, because those you don't even have to measure. You can eat as much as you want. If you noticed on that My Plate document, the quantity on the non-starchy vegetables is unlimited. So it's only limited by your appetite for how many of them that you want. Your beans, though, you do need to measure. This is about a cup of beans. This would be the serving for men. Women, it would be half this. And instead of regular, you know, cakes and pies and cookies and things like that that you're snacking on, you know, to fulfill that sweet tooth, you're going to use a little bit of, you know, you're going to turn to your fruits instead in general. And you can put non-dairy whipped toppings on them. You can use a little bit of dark chocolate with them. So it's really learning, you know, how to build your meals in phase one that are carb managed and that are also addressing food allergens, which is coming up next. But you'll see this chart several times throughout my videos, because we're really teaching you how to eat more non-starchy vegetables, because they're the most nutrient dense low carb foods that you can eat. Proteins and fats and oils are also low glycemic. So we're looking to eat foods that do not make your blood sugar elevate very much at all, because that's a very inflammatory process for the body when it's overdone day in and day out. You can splurge here and there, but for your day in and day out eating, you want to keep your meals very managed on the glycemic load. So, you know, obviously people know we need to get away from things like white bread and sweetened, you know, soft drinks and fruit juices and things like that, and candies and other desserts. And we need to learn how to do healthier versions. But even within these healthy versions of carbohydrate foods like sweet potatoes and beans and, you know, brown rice, there's still a lot of carb in them. And even though they're healthier versions, the total quantity can still get away from you, even fruit. So we've had several people that have done metabolic code programs. I mean, you know, we've had thousands of people that have done the program, but I'm just meaning within that thousands of people, it's not uncommon for us to find people that are way over eating fruit, for example. Even though it's a healthy food, they were eating so much of it that it was keeping them from being able to lose weight, for example, or, you know, keeping them from being able to manage their blood sugar. So even though it's a healthy carb, it can get away from you. Okay, so the second component of phase one of the diet is you're doing food allergen elimination. And this is really important for quite a few of the people. I would say at least 40%. If I'm being honest, I would say that of the people that come in our clinic, probably a good 50%, this is an issue for them. So it is so big on how it can impact people that we just build it in and we walk you through how to take a few weeks and figure out if this is an issue for you. And the reason I've included this screenshot is to show you this is your immunoglobulins that reside in your gut. And when they're reacting to foods and other allergens like dust or pollen, they put out these inflammatory chemicals. These are called inflammatory cytokines. And these can lead to all kinds of symptoms: headaches, pain, skin rashes, you know, tightness in the lungs for people that have asthma. These are some of the little guys that can cause these types of symptoms. They can also contribute to stubborn weight, hay fever. They can even impact, now we know that this whole gut health piece, this gut immune piece, is actually quite a contributor to heart disease for some people. So when you do the food allergen elimination part of the phase 1 diet, you slow down any of your immune cells in the gut that are reacting to foods, and over time these inflammatory cytokines will slowly start to clear from your system. And I've seen estimates that it takes about 3 weeks for these to clear. I don't know for sure how accurate that is, but it seems about right to me from what I see clinically in people. So in order for you to really be able to test out a food later on in phase 2, you need a full elimination of the foods. You don't want to do, oh, I only ate a little bit of cheese, or I only added a little bit of cream to my milk. That doesn't work. You really need to have all the allergens out, and you should be able to do that very easily using our specialty foods list. And really, it's for a minimum of 10 to 14 days. I've had people that have only eliminated the allergens for, say, 7 to 10 days and then accidentally ate one and got symptoms. So you can do the process in less than 3 weeks, although if you were going to do it optimally, you would try to stay off of the food allergens for a good 3 weeks, if not longer. You can choose to do it longer. So really in phase 1, the low allergen part of it is, the way to do it is to just learn your low allergen foods that you're allowed to have, that you swap in for the other normal food that you would eat. And again, that's all laid out. This is the Metabolic Code Diet specialty foods list. And in there we have pictures of all these different kinds of foods that you can use. So instead of regular whipped cream, you can get True Whip or So Delicious, or Ready Whip makes a coconut milk based whipped cream. This is Lissinetti Foods. It's an almond cheese instead of regular cheese when you want to sprinkle cheese on a salad or on chili. Almond milks, flax milks, cashew milks, any of the non-dairy milks you can use on our diet in place of regular milk. And where they tend to get used the most is for your protein shakes. But let's say you need a little milk in your coffee, or you need a little milk to put in for your scrambled eggs, you would use non-dairy. This is a stir fry. This is one of those sneaky foods that, stir fries are made with soy sauce. Well, if you want to try out soybeans as a food allergen, because soybeans are highly allergenic, you can go online or go in your Whole Foods or other health food store and look for coconut aminos. And this is a coconut water, fermented coconut sap soy sauce replacement. It tastes almost exactly like soy sauce. So if you're a person that you go, oh, I don't know if I can do this metabolic code diet because it's, doesn't let me have soy, and I love my stir fry, or I love going in and getting sushi, not to worry. There is a solution for everything, and this coconut aminos taste great, so there's no reason not to use it. It's just a matter of getting it and having it on hand. Most of these foods are not a lot of taste difference. I would say the one category that are the non-dairy cheeses. The other thing that I wanted to point out about what we've done on this specialty foods list, one of the reasons these crackers are so important is because, especially for the women and even the men too, when you're not filling up your plate with potatoes and rice, you're eating mainly vegetables, proteins, and your healthy fats. You frankly will be a little bit hungry if you don't find something to fill that gap. Well, that's where these gluten-free, low-carb crackers come in. So if you're just having, say, a salad with some chicken on it for lunch, you can have a great big salad and you can have, a nice portion of chicken. But still, most people, and your good healthy salad dressing, you can put some nuts and seeds on to help it be more filling. But being able to have a few crackers with that salad will help you feel more full and satisfied with that meal. It really will. So that's where paying attention to your specialty foods list and the full information that we have built into the My Plate is very helpful. So these are crackers that you can have over and above your other starchy foods that you're allowed to have for the day. So they help you get more full. They help you feel more full and satisfied. So that's phase one, just a quick overview. Phase two documents. Phase two is where you actually start to put some things back into your diet. Phase one you can think of as kind of the stripped down phase. Phase two is where you go, okay, I've only been eating 1/2 cup of beans and a serving of low carb crackers for my starch, and I'm losing weight like crazy. And oh, by the way, I'm still hungry. Okay, good news. We have a phase two process that lets you put a little bit more starch back in so you can slow down. You might slow down that weight loss a little bit, but you want to take the edge off of the hunger because you don't want to make this, impossible to do. So we have the phase two Discover and Rebuild document. This is the long version. This is several pages long. It's got all kinds of helpful tools in it. This is the quick version of how to do phase two. And then there's a little bit of reference to phase two on the My Plate document as well. But these are the main two documents. This is the longer version and this is the down and dirty. So what are you doing in phase two? You're, again, as I mentioned, you're able to build up starches a little bit to take the edge off of really rapid weight loss. But cutting way down on those high glycemic carbs will lead to weight loss. So one of the things I wanted to mention is that if you don't need to lose weight, and I'll talk about this more as I go through phase one more closely in the next video. If you don't need to lose weight, you don't have to cut down those high glycemic carbs quite as much. You just have to make the switch to the low allergen starches. So you would use potatoes and rice. But you also have to keep in mind that that starch reduction and sugar reduction is also important for gut dysbiosis. If Jim had discussed with you or your practitioner has discussed with you yeast dysbiosis, this up regulation or overpopulation of yeast organisms is fed into by taking in a lot of carbs. So when you need to reduce the yeast population in the gut, you reduce down your intake of starches and sugars. So let's say you're a person that you don't need to lose weight, but you need to reduce this intake a little bit for yeast dysbiosis. You would take other measures. So we'll be going into, these are some of the nuances of the diet, but for what you need to know right now, we want you to understand the main reasons why you're reducing carbs and why you're reducing allergens, and then how you can build it back up in the second phase of the diet to start customizing the diet to you. So what you will do is during phase one and two, you will find the ideal level of carbs for you that lets you either continue to lose a little bit of weight without being too hungry, or that keeps you from losing too much weight, but helps you start to address this yeast dysbiosis. And you're also going off of the food allergens in phase one, so that the second part of the phase two diet is that you do food allergen reintroductions or food allergen trials. We use those words interchangeably. So basically what that part of the phase two is just picking out an allergen, and we have a suggested order. We really suggest waiting to the very end of trying any wheat or dairy and doing more of the soy and corn and peanuts and things like that in the beginning. But it's literally just after you've been off of all those food allergens for a while, you try them one at a time. And when you eat them, if you were reactive, these immune cells are very good at remembering what they thought were the bad guys, and they will activate up again very quickly and start this production of inflammation again, and you will get a symptom. It might be really where it whacks you, you know, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I got an instant, you know, runny nose or an instant headache, or I felt very fatigued after I ate it, or my pain really flared back up. Or it might be, you know, I didn't feel the greatest after I ate that food, but it's not like, you know, really full, strong level of it. Or it could be you got, yeah, I think I got a little bit of headache when I eat that soy. It gives me a headache. Or, you know, like I said, fill in the blank. But if you get a symptom when you eat an allergen, that means you're getting inflammation in your body when you eat that food, and you should take that food back out of your diet for a while. So these are phase 2 processes. And we have the phase 1 quick guide and the long book. This is one of the charts that I really like in the phase 2 discover and rebuild, the longer document. It lets you record what kind of starch you've been eating, you know, your serving size and where your weight is before you ate it, and did you gain or lose any weight after, you know, eating this level of starch for this day. It is possible to increase starches to say, like, let's say for an example, if you're a woman and you went from 1 starch serving per day up to 2, to still lose weight, just not as much. And then you need to record your hunger, how hungry you are. So what you're trying to find here is the level of starch that you can eat, still lose weight if you need to lose it, and pretty well manage your hunger between all the other foods that you're allowed to eat each day. So that's the goal. But that's just on the starch. Then there's pages in there that we have charts for writing down symptoms with food allergens. We have that in the quick guide too, but we have a little more detailed version of it in the Discover and Rebuild Phase 2 guide. One of the big things that always comes up with the diet is, what are you going to eat when you eat out? And so we've got our restaurant guide for eating out. It is a little hard, to be honest, it is a little hard in phase 1 because you're eating proteins, you're eating vegetables, you're allowed to eat salads, but you really have to watch intake of the allergens, and that's where it gets a little hard. It's not hard to go get fajitas in Mexican, though. You can have whatever protein you want. You can have the peppers and onions. You can have guacamole. You can have beans, but you can't have sour cream. You can't have rice in the beginning, and you can't have cheese. But there are measures that you can take and you can eat out. It's a little bit more of a challenge when you're in the full-on beginning phase of phase 1. But our restaurant eating guide has general guidelines. So for example, you know, just about any barbecue, you're going to have similar choices. You have a lot of choices of proteins. You have non-starchy vegetables like beans and greens, or just green beans themselves, coleslaw, salads. So we have general guidelines, and then we have restaurant specific choices for certain chain restaurants. And the guide is split up by, they'll have the type of restaurant over here, the choices you can eat in phase 1 here in the middle, and then the far right column is the choices you can have if you're in phase 2, let's say, for example, and you tolerated soy when you tried it, so you're allowed to have some edamame on a salad, for example. So that's our restaurant guide. Shows you how it's laid out, the type of restaurant, phase 1, phase 2. And it'll either be a general restaurant type, or it'll be restaurant specific with actual names of restaurants and menu items. And just be aware on the restaurant guide that, you know, this is what was available at that restaurant at the time that we made the guide. Some of the things may have been taken off of the menu by now. So that's phase 1 and phase 2. So think of phase 1, again, the stripped down part of the diet, low carb, low allergen. Phase 2, you might build your starchy servings back up again, and after a while you start trying out your food allergens to see what you're reactive to or not. And then after you get all through that part of phase 2, you've reached your goal on your weight, and you've tried every food allergen, you will have worked your way up to phase 3, which is where you take everything that you've learned throughout that phase 2 process and you put it together to start helping you get back to more real life again. So what does that mean? Well, this guide contains information on, let's say you're going to go to a wedding and you're going to want to eat a little piece of wedding cake. How do I do that on my diet? If I start doing that too often, I'm going to regain, of course, but if you know how to take some carbs out earlier in your day before you go to the wedding so that you can eat that piece of wedding cake when you go, that's a way you keep it from having a more dramatic impact on you as far as your health and your weight. So it helps you figure out your level of starch serving, and really I should have said carb serving consumption, because it's your fruits and your starchy foods, your higher carb foods on an ongoing basis. And I'll just give you an example. For an average woman, they're going to have maybe 4 to 5 carb servings per day in their maintenance phase. I know that's what I do. I have one to 2 fruit servings on an average day, and I'll have about 2 starch servings on an average day. And that helps me keep my weight right where it's at. And I know that that's what I have to work with. But I learned how to do this in doing a phase 3 process. It also helps you decide, okay, how often is good for you based on the type of symptom that you had when you eat wheat, for example, to think about, okay, every now and then you should be able to have some wheat unless you get a very severe symptom with it. So there's information on that in your phase 3 document. So, you know, the number of times per week or month that you allow desserts. When you think about it, you know, this can really get away from you, right? You know, between holidays and birthdays and everything, or just people having get-togethers at their house, and, you know, so we have a lot of practical information in this phase 3 document that helps you for knowing how to be able to have a life, enjoy some indulgences, but not get yourself off track with them. So that's what phase 3 is, your maintenance. And I just put this slide in to show you how, you know, we're always, I found this tater tot, except it's made out of rice cauliflower recipe that was really, really good. I mean, really good. So I'm always on the lookout. Wendy is always on the lookout. We're always looking for new recipes to add to give you new and great food ideas. We have all kinds of, you know, practical pointers. Let's say you're in a hurry and you know, oh my gosh, I know what I was going to eat today, but I totally blew it. What can I do? Stop at the store, get a roasted chicken, get a bag of steamed fresh vegetables of some sort, get a can of beans if you don't have any at home. Go home and throw it together, and voila, you've got your meal. If you pick up a thing of berries and non-dairy whipped topping and low sugar dark chocolate bar, you've even got your dessert. You know, a lot of diets use really specialty foods, and it's not easy at all to just go pick something up. Think of a raw food diet. That is a really hard diet to do. Our diet has some parts that might be a little more challenging for people, but when you look at the day in and day out, really overall, it's easy with tips and pointers like this. So we have a ton of other support materials. You'll be hearing all about them as we move forward. But the thing about our diet that I think should make you feel encouraged or feel like, wow, this is what I really need, is the fact that everything we have built into the diet is built over time to help you get control of hunger, believe it or not, because it's the number one thing that takes people off of a diet. Think about it. When you do Weight Watchers, why don't you stay on Weight Watchers? Because I can't stay full on my points that I'm allowed to have. Whereas the way we've done our diet, we have built everything to help you reduce hunger, so that over time, you don't need to go off the diet. due to hunger, especially. And you don't need to even go off of it due to the fact that, you know, if you want to have an indulgence every now and then, we teach you how to do that. So the long-term goal is that this is not a diet that you do for a short period of time. It's a diet that you're learning how to eat healthier so that you can do better with your overall, you know, your metabolic, you know, your labs and your weight and your energy and for the rest of your life, because it's not that hard to do it the way we've built it and put it all together. But that's the goal, is to help you figure out how to do this as a healthy eating, a way to eat healthy for the rest of your life. And with that, I will once again let you know, my name's Laura LaValle. Wendy Lempner is our another dietitian in our Metabolic Code company. She does care coordination for our Hall of Fame program. And we are here for you. So any questions or concerns, feel free to email us any materials that that you need or extra support. We are available for appointments as well. So thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to a little more time with you. My next video is more in depth on how to use the Metabolic Code My Plate document. Thank you so much for joining me.